Okay, so let's get started using the LazyColumn. So I hope you enjoyed this little video that I showed you earlier. So this LazyColumn is gonna go underneath the button. So it should be just underneath here. And I'm going to use the Z column composable. Okay, so the LazyColumn, it either needs a content or we can add the content in curly brackets. So either is fine. You can directly define the content if you were to use it in a different format, but you can also just say, okay, I'm going to add a lazy scope or a lazy list scope. So this LazyColumn, it can have modifiers too. So the modifier is always available for our composables, right? So this modifier will fill the max size. So what that will do is it will take as much space as it gets or as there is available, which means that it will automatically push our add item button that we have right now, which is in the center, towards the top. Okay, that will happen by default. But then I also want to have a little bit of a distance between, or yeah, a little span, so to speak, in between the item button or add item button and the LazyColumn. So I can do that in one line. I can add another dot and then say padding, and I can add a padding of, let's say, 16 density pixels. So I will need to import padding. I will need to import DP, all of the magic. So here, let's add that, import extension into DP. And then for padding, same story, Alt Enter, and this will add the padding. Now, currently I don't have any content for our LazyColumn, but we're going to take care of that. Let's go ahead and add another class underneath here inside of our main activity. We can obviously also create a new file, but I'm just going to keep it simple for this example here, where I'm going to use a data class, and we've seen data classes before. I'm going to give it a name called shopping item. So basically saying how each individual shopping list item should look like. And I'm going to give it an ID, so an integer identification number, so that we know which item in the list it is, so at which position, so to speak. And then I'm going to give the list item a name, which will be of type string. And I want to know the quantity. So how many pieces do we want of that item? How many do we want to purchase? So var quantity of type int. And by the way, let me put those into separate lines so it's a little more readable. And I'm going to need a last item, which will be var, and this one will be is editing. So this will just maintain the details about whether we're currently editing the shopping item or not, because you saw earlier that we had this option of modifying items. So if I were to add an item, let's say let's buy a house, let's add that item, and then we can click on this edit button, which then puts this item, the shopping list item, into the state of being edited. Okay, so this is what this is editing Boolean is all about. All right, let me go back to my our execution of this application. And now that we have defined how such a shopping item should look like, so that the object that we are going to create of it, what kind of properties it should have, we can use that. So we can go ahead and add that to our column right here, where we say var as items. So this will be our list of items by remember, and then in curly brackets. So we need to import remember, Alt Enter is good enough here. Mutable state of. So mutable state of, and then we can, inside of mutable state of, we can add a list as well. So I'm going to say a list of, and then our shopping item, list of, wait a second, like this. And let me actually get rid of this running device so it's a little more visible. A list of, and then here I say what the type should be, shopping item type. Okay, now we just need to do an import of get value because we're using this by. and also set value with Alt Enter. So I use Alt Enter in order to do the imports automatically. I'm not clicking anything anymore. So you understand the idea behind it. If you need to import it, just import it. So this one line, there's a lot going on in this line, okay? We are setting up a variable that we call as items, and it's going to be of, well, it's going to maintain the state of the list of items that we have. So we use by remember, then mutable state of, and then in the brackets of the mutable state of, that's where we enter the type. Usually we would have used integers or strings or doubles or stuff like that in the last project that we built. But now we're going to actually use a list. So instead of just using individual items that we store, we're going to store an entire list of items. And now, as we are not defining what the list of items should be inside of here, so we're not using a simple type like string or int or so, we are saying we want this list to contain shopping item objects. Now the shopping item objects are those objects that are of the data class type shopping item that we have set up just a second earlier. Okay, so now we can just say that the content of our lazy column is going to be items and as items. And now we just need to add the brackets here. And also import the function lazy list scope items. So let's import this extension here. And now we're good to go. So a lot has happened in this video, even though we won't see anything on the screen. Well, we will probably see that the button has been pushed to the top. Let's see if that's true. Let's run it. And there we are. So I'm going to use it as a separate window here, and you see that our add item button has in fact been pushed to the top. And I explained this to you earlier, why that is. Do you recall? Well, it's because our lazy column, even though it is empty, there's nothing in there, but it already is reserving all of the space that is available by using modifier fill max size. So we're saying, hey, this lazy column should take the entire height that is available as well as the entire width that is available. So now we can put this into multiple lines, by the way. So if you prefer this way, this still works. So basically we're saying the modifier should be modifier.fillMaxSize and padding. So we're just saying how the lazy column should look like. And then we say what the content of our lazy column should be. And we're using items, which is just basically a way of saying, hey, we want to have multiple elements inside of this lazy column. And then we say what items we want to use. So what list, so to speak, because this basically is a list, but it is a state list. So it's a list that uses mutable state of. So it will automatically update our user interface as soon as items inside of that list are added or deleted. All right, so I'd say let's make a break here and keep going with our little application in the next video. So see you there.